Hello everybody and welcome back to Sophisticakes by Mary. For this video, I'm going to show you another buttercream marbling technique, but in this technique, I'm using the acetate sheet, but I am also using a melted buttercream. I wanted to see what kind of effect I would get with that, and I kind of like it, so if you want to see how I did this, stick around. I'm showing you the flowers that I use because these were my inspiration for my colors. The pink, the yellow, that sagey green, and those were my main colors actually. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting some buttercream in 3 different bowls. This is just my normal American buttercream that I will attach a link to, and I'm going to go ahead and use some gel food coloring to get the colors. Now this pink is more of a kind of a corally, dusty coral color, so I used a little pale pink, a little bit of orange, and then I added some ivory to it to get it a little bit more of that dusty color. That ivory is always good to use to get to kind of cut the intensity of color. If your color is too bright, use a little ivory, and sometimes you can actually use a little dab of brown if the ivory is not enough. And there, I'm matching the colors. Pretty close. And what I find is that if you let the buttercream sit, it will deepen up on its own as it oxidizes. So don't worry too much about it. If you're close, if you're not exact, it might actually deepen up to that color. And then for the yellow, I believe I just used a lemon yellow, and then I added a little bit of ivory to it. And that yellow kind of is a cross between the 2 different colors of yellow. So I wanted to get it a little brighter, so I added a little bit more of the lemon yellow. I just added a little bit of water to the buttercream because it was a little thick, a little harder to mix. So just add a little water to thin it down a little bit. And then for this one, I used a leaf green, is what I started with. I added a little ivory and then a little brown because the ivory wasn't cutting it quite enough. It needed to be more of like a mossy green. And then I just set those to the side while I assembled my cake. I'm using 4 layers of white vanilla cake, and I'm just filling it with buttercream. Now I used a thickened buttercream dam. What I do is I add a little bit more powdered sugar to the icing, and then I pipe it around the perimeter of the cake to keep that filling from squeezing out the sides. Nothing I hate more than a bulging cake. And then as I go, I'm just kind of scraping off the excess, just so I can make sure that I can tell if the cake is level as I'm working with it. And continue this all the way through your cake. And at this point, I could have set the refrigerator, that wouldn't work very well, the cake in the refrigerator for 20 minutes or the freezer for 10 minutes to get the filling to firm up a little bit before I added the crumb coat. But this time I decided I was running a little short on time, and I just wanted to go ahead and do the crumb coat. And as you could tell, it was a little lopsided, so I had to kind of level it out with my fingers there. Just kind of push it and get those layers more level. And then go ahead at this point and set it in your refrigerator while you are preparing your melted buttercream. And all I did was simply roll out a piece of acetate that was the same circumference distance around my cake, and I literally just took my buttercream and I put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds and just melted it. And I just used my spoon to put dollops on and a skewer to kind of marble them together, I guess is the best way to put it. And take a little peek there and see if you like how it's looking, because you can see the side that's on the bottom is actually going to be on the surface of the cake. So this part that I'm working on here does not have to be pretty because it's not going to be seen. It's the other side that you will see. And then I just added a little bit of melted white buttercream just as a backing and to fill in any of those gaps, because I didn't need it to be completely covered with the marbled melted buttercream. And I knew my background color was going to be white. So I just set that to the side to firm up a little bit while I got my cake out of the fridge and added a thin layer on the bottom part of the cake, about the bottom 2/3, because my wrap was going to be sitting about that high. And I just wanted to put a fresh layer of buttercream underneath there so that I could get the acetate sheet, the transfer, to stick just a little bit more securely. You don't have to do that, but I kind of like doing that. And then I set it in the freezer for about half an hour to firm up before you remove your acetate sheet. And then I just went ahead and piped on my buttercream. And I did notice that I didn't like how high the marbled part was, and I wanted it to be a little bit more irregular. So I just went ahead, since it's frozen, since that buttercream is frozen on the surface especially, you can just kind of pick it off, and that's fine. And then I went in and I finished filling in the rest of the cake with my just plain white buttercream. And then level off your top, and then use your scraper to remove the excess. I did quite a thick amount of buttercream because I knew I was going to be scraping off the excess. And since your marbled part is already set up, is already firm, when you remove the buttercream from the top, when you level that out, you're not going to mess with the marble on the bottom. It's not going to affect it at all. You can actually even take your cake before you scrape it real clean. You can go ahead and put it in your freezer and set up the whole thing so that you can scrape the excess off. If that makes you feel more secure, if it's a little bit more a safety net for you, that is fine. I do find though, since I use the American buttercream, crusting American, that it is a little harder to scrape off because you have that crusted outside layer. Now, if you're using a Swiss meringue or Italian meringue, those work great for that because it's going to scrape off. Just use a hot spatula or a hot scraper to scrape off the excess. And I did do a little stencil there, but I don't know where that footage went. You know how it goes. Every video, there's something I end up not catching. But it's just a standard stencil. I will try to remember to attach a link to another cake where I did this so that you can see how I did that. And I am just using a couple of videos ago. I did these paper palm leaves, and I'm just reusing some. I do like to reuse my materials since these cakes are not for orders. They're just for demonstration purposes. There are some elements that I can reuse, which is kind of nice. But if you're doing it for an order, obviously you won't be able to do that. But I will also try to remember to attach the link on where I made those palm leaves, so you know how to do that. And then I'm just attaching my flowers with buttercream, as you can see right there. That way it keeps your cake food safe. Your cake food safe? Your flowers, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, they're not affecting your cake at all. If you're, it's late, guys. The buttercream is keeping the flowers in place is what I'm trying to say without having to poke them into the cake. Boy, maybe I'll redo this voiceover tomorrow when I'm not so tired. It's Easter tomorrow, guys. I have to do everything late tonight. Sorry. And just mess around with these flowers until you get them where you like how they are looking. And I did go ahead and put some flowers in the back also, because if you're doing this for an order, they are going to see the front and the back. And then I just went in and finishing touch. I didn't plan on doing this, but I did decide to go ahead and touch that edge up with a little bit of gold, which is just gold luster dust mixed with Everclear. You can use vodka, you can use lemon extract, that works fine too. And then I did add some gold beads around where the marbling part meets the overall white buttercream. I didn't get the footage of that because I literally applied them where I take the picture. Anyway, I hope you decide to give this one a go. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to Check out my other social media. I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.